Can you see and hear me? Just give me a thumbs up if you're on mute. But yeah, great stuff, lovely. Okay, well listen, guys, this is not like a formal lesson. I'm not your teacher, so if there's any questions at any point, or you can't hear, there's any problems at all, please feel free just to give me a shout, and we can go over stuff. So any questions at all, feel free to ask. I won't be covering a lot of technical stuff tonight. We've got another photography session scheduled in a few weeks' time, and I'll be looking at the technical stuff a bit more then. Hopefully by then you'll have the cameras that Chris has ordered in your hands, or you'll have your own camera in front of you. So we'll look at apertures and shutters and focal length and the technical side of things. But today's session really is about looking at photographs and taking photographs, and it's really starting to think about what's important, what makes a photograph interesting. And I'm really looking at your personal response to photographs, and then towards the end of the session we'll be looking at heritage and your families and things like that. If for some reason I ask a question and you're not comfortable with it, obviously you don't have to answer it. I might ask you your opinions on things. Again, if you're not comfortable with the question or talking about that, then feel free to just to say you're not comfortable with that. It's very important that you're happy. So the first thing I'm going to say is hands up, who's taking some photographs this week? Any photographs? I mean, iPhone photographs, any kind of photographs. Hands up, if I can see. Great. Oh, it looks like we've all taken some photographs. Fantastic. Okay, so what did you photograph? Does anybody want to share what kind of things you've been photographing?
I took some photos of my friend with her son. We were feeding the ducks.
Great, and that's just kind of a snapshot, a kind of family photograph, or was that for a project, of course?
Oh no, I was just earlier today. I was just taking some photos for my friend with her son.
Yeah. And were you happy with the pictures? Did the pictures turn out the way you wanted them to?
Some of them came out really nice. Two of them came out a little blurred, but they were moving at the time. So
yeah. Well, listen, feel free, if you ever take a photograph and it doesn't turn out the way that you want it to turn out, feel free to sort of share it with me, and if you need any advice, and I'm happy to talk to you about that. Obviously, if we were sitting around and we were a bit closer, it'd be quite easy to be sharing photographs and looking at photographs, but I guess technically that's quite tricky at the moment. Sometimes when we get shaky photographs, it can be because obviously we could be moving the camera when we're taking the photograph, or obviously the thing itself could be moving. Again, we'll be looking at shutter speeds and things that will allow us to freeze action. We'll be looking at that in one of the more technical sessions. Anybody else? Who else? Kai, you had your hand up. What have you been photographing this week?
My friend bought a film camera, so I grabbed one of mine, and we just went out and took some shots with 35mm.
Wow. Colour or black and white?
Black and white.
So what camera was it? Oh, sorry, I can't help myself.
I used a Zenith EM2, I think.
Wow, old school.
And my friend bought a Yashica ELTLM Electro or something.
Wow.
So he was just trying it out.
Old cameras from about 30 years ago. Everything work okay?
Yeah, the shutter randomly didn't, like the viewfinder looking through it just went black at one point. So I had to go back to mine, and I got my dad to look at it, and then he just put it on bulb, did like a big exposure, and it worked fine. But yeah.
Will you be processing those films yourself?
Yeah, I normally do in the darkroom at school. Yeah.
Great stuff, excellent. Anybody else? Tate, what have you been photographing?
It sounds really stupid, but I took some photos for my Instagram. It was mine and my boyfriend's anniversary, so I took some photos of some flowers he bought me and some photos of us too and stuff like that, just documenting things.
So do you hold the camera yourself when you take those photographs, or do you use a self-timer?
I do a bit of both. Like if it's just a casual one, like it was yesterday, I'll take like a selfie or whatever. But like I said before, I'm more comfortable in front of the camera, so I kind of know more what to do with that kind of stuff. And like editing my own Instagram photos as well, I'm like quite good at that.
Were these with an iPhone or?
Yeah, it was just with my phone. I've not got a proper camera yet.
Yeah.
Because like this, I want to kind of try and expand it, like my knowledge on taking photos, and eventually getting like what Kai mentioned, a cool old camera like that, and get some like nice effects on it and stuff like that.
Excellent. You've been taking some photographs as well.
Yeah, I have. Yesterday on my phone. It's a bit stupid, but I took a picture of my sister wearing a face mask, so I can embarrass her or something. But yeah, that's it.
A face mask, as in a COVID type face mask, or
No, like a face mask, like for like a spa day or something.
Oh, like for makeup type face mask.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you're gonna use that to embarrass her.
Yeah, of course.
Did I pronounce your name correctly? Is it Humera?
It's Humera.
Humera.
Yeah, like Humera.
Yeah. My R's sometimes sound like L's, by the way. So if I say Humera, it's just my.
It's okay. Like I don't know what it is, but people always pronounce my name wrong. So no matter what, I'm used to it now.
Yasin. Am I saying your name correctly? Hello.
It's Yasin, but I don't really mind.
Yasin, are you comfortable turning your camera on so we can see you? Are you happy doing that?
Sure.
You don't have to if you don't want to, but it's so much easier if we can see faces. Hey, there you go. Nice to see you. How are you? Have you been taking some pictures this week? I think you might have frozen. We've just lost you. Okay. We'll see whether he'll come back to us in a bit. So Yasin, we've just lost you at the moment. Okay, so what I would like you to do, I'm going to give you some homework. I'd like you to start taking lots of photographs. If you want to become a better photographer, you want to improve your photography, obviously the best way to do that is to take lots of pictures. If you want to be a better cyclist, you cycle a lot of miles. If you want to be a photographer, you take lots of pictures. But I want you to start thinking about the photographs that you're taking. So the homework for you this week is to take at least 12 photographs, please. And I would like you to share your favourite photograph in the WhatsApp group. So that can be a very technical photograph, taken with a technical camera. It can just be a snap with your iPhone, whatever is important to you, and whatever your definition of favourite is. I'd just like you to share a photograph. In fact, I'd like you to share 3 photographs on WhatsApp, please. I'll put these instructions into the WhatsApp group in case you forget what I'm asking. But I'd just like you to start looking at a lot more photographs and taking a lot more photographs. Hello, Yasin, you're back with us.
Yeah,
hello.
My connection's very patchy, so I might be in and out, and then
Yeah, me too. Mine's been all over the shop this week for some reason. So have you been taking some photographs, Yasin?
Yeah. I really like photographing nature, and I have an Instagram page, as you've seen. I take mostly flowers because they're easiest and they don't move. I'd like to take more of like animals, what I see, rather than just flowers. So yeah.
So when you're taking a picture of a flower, what kind of things go through your mind? What are you thinking in terms of like composition and things like that?
I think is the light so the sunlight, does it shine it, or if it's maybe raining, or does it create like a aesthetic? So there's some pictures that I have, it's like sometimes how I feel. It's like it's raining and like can't really be bothered. It's like things like that.
And where do you find these photographs? Are these out in the garden, or do you buy them specially?
No, I don't buy them. I might be just walking around, maybe coming home from college or in the park, and I'll see like something. I was like, oh, I want to take a photograph of that. and if I like it enough, I'll put it onto my Instagram.
Yeah, I had a look at them. They're really good. And do you look at the work of other flower photographers? Have you been online and done are you looking for pictures to look at and consider?
Well, not necessarily flower pictures, but I follow a lot of wildlife photographers. They who do mainly animals, and so yeah.
That's great.
But otherwise,
yeah, I mean that's probably the number one way of improving your photography is to be looking at photographs, taking photographs, but also looking at photographs. But looking at photographs critically, and that's something we're going to be looking at in the coming weeks. You know, do I like the photograph? Why do I like the photograph? How does it make me feel? Hello, Zainab. How are you?
I can wait. I literally
Nice
just
to see
through
you.
the door and just done. Yeah, I'm still wearing stuff.
Have you been taking any photographs this week, Zainab?
I usually take photographs when I go to the park or like usually it's of scenery. I don't take family pictures or any selfies whatsoever. So it's just mainly of like whatever I see. Usually it's like sunset, sunrise as well. It's mainly like the sky. I really like sky pictures, and then any sort of like scenery, animals as well. That's just about it. I want to get into like city. I think I really like cities, but not everything about a city. Like the specific things, like some buildings that look really nice. Like I want to take pictures of those, but not everything about the city. Because then it's just like you take a picture and it's just cities and it's just boring. Like you just see buildings in the whole picture.
So I was asking everyone to take at least 12 photographs this week. By Sunday night, I'd like you to share your 3 favourite photographs in the WhatsApp group. Are you happy to do that?
I try.
Yeah, great stuff.
I can tell my mom like let's go out somewhere, and yeah, I can definitely do that.
Yeah. I mean, again, these could be taken on your iPhone or they could be taken on your professional camera, and it just gives us something to start talking about, looking at photographs, and we can start sort of improving them. Okay, I thought I would show you a few of my photographs to begin with. I have got some of my folio here. So if I share my screen, just I'll show you some of these. So you should be seeing my Lightroom, and in there you should be able to see. Let's go to the beginning. Can you see a chap in a green hat? Is that working for everybody? Okay, yeah. So I've just pulled together about 20 shots. These aren't necessarily my best shots, but these are some shots that I just thought I'd quickly show you. And just gives us something to talk about a little bit. So these are some of my travel photographs. This photograph was taken in Vietnam about 10 years ago. The green pith helmet is quite a symbol of the Vietnamese male, and it certainly was worn a lot in the Vietnam War. So it's a popular kind of helmet and hat. What I think I like about this photograph is I've got very close into the subject and really focused on his eyes. So although we weren't able to exchange any words because we didn't speak the same language, I feel that we did manage to make a connection. When I'm photographing people, I won't photograph people who don't want to be photographed. So if I was out in public, I will, especially if I'm traveling and I'm in a culture that I'm unfamiliar with, I would have my camera with me and I would make sure people could see I was a photographer, and I would smile at people or look at people or make people aware that I am taking photographs. You don't necessarily want everyone to be completely conscious and reacting to you, because that can sometimes spoil a natural moment, but certainly I find that it's worth, I wouldn't take a photograph if someone didn't want to be photographed. One thing to say, when you're taking photographs this week, I know sometimes the habit is to take 1 or 2 photographs of a scene. But personally, for me to get a photograph like this, I might have to take 10 or 20 photographs, and I might have to try different things. And sometimes when I'm photographing people, I wouldn't go straight as close as this straight away. I would gradually work my way in with a bit of a smile and a joke and some hand gestures perhaps. or if I can communicate with the people, I'll be chatting with them and asking them about themselves and who are they and where are they going and what are they doing and things like that. So good photographs sometimes take a lot of time. You know, it can take sometimes hours to get one decent photograph. So I find that being persisting is a really a useful thing. So these are some more travel photographs. This is again taken in Vietnam, up in the mountains. This is a member of the Hmong tribe. You can see here, one of the things we'll be looking at in coming weeks is something called depth of field. Depth of field is how much focus you've got within the photograph. So you can see with the chap here, his eyes and his face are in focus, but the guys behind are out of focus. Now that's something that you can control using, I think some of the modern iPhones have got this ability using the portrait settings. But when you have a camera where you can control the apertures, it allows you to control how much focus you get in the photographs, and that's something we'll be looking at in the technical section. It's something that I do quite a lot because I want your eyes to go to her eyes, and I want to be able to control what you're looking at. This is taken in Australia, and these are some Aborigine boys doing a dance. Just to say, I have my pictures with an agency called Alamy, and they sell my photographs around the world. So if somebody wants a photograph of an Aborigine boy, they can go onto a website, search for it, and lots of photographs will come up. And if they like this shot, they can then pay to use it. And some of these photographs have been some of the best sellers that I've had, because although this photograph was taken over 20 years ago, it hasn't actually dated. So it still sells today, even though it was taken 20 years ago. So there are certain things that you can photograph that don't go out of date. This was taken a couple of years ago. My son cycled from Leicester to Australia, and I joined him in India and cycled in India and Delhi. How many of you have been to India? It's an amazing country, and you can't help but take wonderful photographs because the light and the colour and the people are so wonderful. So yeah, I particularly like this photograph. There's lots of detail going on, fantastic colours, and the more you look at it, the more things that you can see. This is something, I put this picture in, it's a very old photograph, but I put it in because again it's something we'll be looking at in weeks to come. It's composition and viewpoint. So when you're taking photographs this week, I want you to start to think about how you're putting the elements into the shot. So how the elements are fitting into the rectangle. One of the reasons this photograph works quite well is because the lines of the wool that the lady is weaving lead to her face. This is a street scene, and again it's one of those photographs that when you zoom in, if I were to zoom in, there's all these little stories going on, all these little different things that are occurring. So it's fantastic for that kind of detail. This one was taken in Leicester actually, quite a few years ago. This is the Vaisakhi religious festival in the Sikh community. This was taken at a wedding. Hello there. Nice to see you.
Hi, Mike.
Thanks for joining us. We're just going through a few photographs that I've taken. When you're taking the photographs this week, have a little think about reflections as well. So it may have just rained, so pavements might be very reflective, or windows or glass. I often like to use reflections within my photographs. These are a couple of shots from music festivals. This is from the Summer Sunday Music Festival, which used to be held at Montfort Hall. You can see the colours go quite well in this photograph because the colours of her glasses match the colours in the background. This photograph is technically not perfect because when I look at it, I can see that his eyes are not in focus. I would have wanted his eyes to be in focus because then he would be able to see the crowd. So this is an example of where things don't always work out perfect. I think it's true to say that, there's very few photographs that I've taken that I would say were perfect. So if you take photographs and they're not perfect, don't worry. I think everyone feels the same way. This was taken for the Space Centre. So a lot of the work that I do, I have to take some studio lights with me and some backdrops in order to do portraits. It allows me to control the lighting on the face. These were taken for De Montfort University. That's their students and their work. This shot works quite well again because of the lines leading to the guy's face. So this week, things I want you to think about are the composition. What am I putting into my photographs? So I want to see it. I want you to take at least 12 photographs this week. I want to see 3 of them in the WhatsApp group, and I want to start to see you thinking about shapes, the composition, the elements within the picture, and how they draw your eye or move your eyes about. This is taken with a telephoto lens, and that has the effect of flattening perspective and bringing elements together. This photograph is more of a wide-angle lens, so I've got in quite close, but the wide-angle lens allows us to get some detail in the background. We'll be looking at shutter speeds in the coming weeks and how you can capture movement. And one of the things we're going to go on to now is meaning in photographs. So this photograph was taken for Shelter, which is a homeless charity. It's about homelessness and it's about accommodation. And this girl didn't feel safe in the accommodation that she lived in. So I took a photograph that tried to evoke some emotions, some feelings. This photograph works quite well because the water is being frozen because of a fast shutter speed and the use of flash. Okay, so who's been looking at photographs this week? Tate, what kind of pictures have you been looking at?
I mainly look at like photos of like old runway shows and like photos of performances, kind of like concept photography and events photography, and like how they capture the angles and the different lights, and like you said, depth of field, and like focusing on different points like the singer or the garments or that kind of thing.
When you say angle, what do you mean by angle?
Like if it's a lower angle or from the side, like a portrait shot, or generally they're quite lower because obviously you've got the stage and that rises the subject up, so you kind of have to focus from a different angle, not direct, not a point of view shot, but just kind of stuff like that. And like full length shots as well for the ones with the clothes or like musicians and stuff like that.
So that's something I want you guys again to think about this week. It's called Viewpoint. Where are you taking the photographs from? Now most people, when they take a photograph, well in my case, I take my photographs from probably about 5.5 feet off the ground, because that's where I'm standing. However, it works this week. One of the things I want you to think about this week is getting into different viewpoints, into different positions. Who's knelt on the floor or laid on the floor to take photographs? Shana. So this week I want you to think about taking photographs from different kinds of positions, different kinds of viewpoints. I want you to get low. I want you to think about lying on the floor. Okay. So maybe when you go out, don't wear your best clothes if you're going to be lying on a dirty pavement. Although with modern cameras, obviously you can hold them on the floor without you actually having to lay on the floor. So that's an option for you. Another thing I want you to think about is getting very, very high and looking down on things. So instead of all the photographs being taken at 5 feet or 4 feet looking outwards, I want you to think about getting, again, if we were in a class now, I'd actually get you doing this. I'd get you down on your knees and laying on the floor. It sounds funny, doesn't it? Get you down on your knees, laying on the floor, and you know, getting on the, if you're a flower photographer, getting on the grass or into the wildlife, or climbing up to the building, going to a tall building and looking down and photographing straight down and seeing what you can see, or just looking straight down that way. So start thinking about the Viewpoint. This week I want you to start looking at photographs. So here's some more homework for you. I'd like you to start collecting photographs. I don't mind how you do that. Some people, who collects photographs already? I mean, I can see that Daljinder's got some behind her, and Kai's got some behind him already, so they're clearly collecting some. So, you know, when I was young, I'd get buy magazines and newspapers, and I would tear the photographs out and I'd keep them in a folder. So you can do that. You can start to create. Who uses Pinterest? Yeah? You know what Pinterest is? Pinterest is like a website or an app that you can use to sort of collecting photographs and building your own storyboards and things like that. So whatever works for you, whether you do it digitally or whether you physically tear them out or whether you print them and stick them onto the wall like Daljinder's done, then I just want you to start collecting photographs and looking at photographs. And we're going to start talking about that. We'll start sharing what we're looking at. Who else has looked at some photographs this week? Chris, what have you been looking at?
I bought a book at Christmas, the Atlas of Brutalist Art. I really like brutalism, so I've been looking at big concrete buildings in Russia.
Just explain to us what brutal architecture is.
Brutalism is a form of architecture which is focused on buildings that look very stark and bleak, and they are predominantly made from concrete. A good example in Leicester might be two of the car parks in the city. The one that housed the first ever Tesco's outside of London on St Nicholas Circle, and then the second is one down by, I can't think of the name of the road, but it's opposite the nightclub called the Fan Club. And if you like taking pictures of car parks made of concrete, then that's a great one to go and shoot. I've done that on numerous occasions.
Yeah. Anybody else? Looking at what photographs have you seen this week that you liked? Or made you sad? Or made you happy?
I went to a National Trust property out of county yesterday, and I probably shouldn't have done. It was in Warwickshire, but I took this photo. I don't know if you can see it. I'll put it on my Instagram. You probably can't see it very well, but it's a brick wall, and the brick has coloured wonderfully, red, green and white, and it's in the middle of it. There's a lead-framed glass window with some pots that reflects back to the brickwork, and I just thought it looked really, really good. No people in it. I don't like to take photographs of people, but it was the colours of the brickwork. They were so, you know, orange and red and green. It was a really lovely photograph.
We're going to be having some fantastic weather this week, I believe, and I'm guessing most of you are off because it's Easter. So this week is going to be a fantastic time to be taking photographs. One of the things, again, I want you to be thinking about, I'll put this in the WhatsApp group, but time of day. It might be interesting to go and photograph, say, you know, a building, and go to exactly the same spot at different times of day. So, and what effect does that have on the building? Or photograph, maybe you're photographing a friend, try photographing them in the morning, photograph them in lunchtime, and photograph them in the evening, and just have a look at the light. How does it change colour? How does it change characteristics, like its sort of texture, the strength of the shadows and things like that? So it's quite a lot for you to think about so far. We've got composition and viewpoint, and we've got a time of day as well. Start collecting photographs. So I'd like you to share your favourite photograph that you've seen this week in WhatsApp. So if you see a photograph and you like it, whether you have to copy it with your phone or whether you can put a link to it or however you do it, I'd just like you to share with us in the WhatsApp group one photograph that you've seen this week. You might love it, you might hate it, you might, as long as it doesn't have to, it has to be a photograph that sort of resonates with you or has an impact on you. So it might be a photograph that disgusts you, but just some kind of photograph that's had an effect on you. On that, we're now going to play a video. We're not 100% it's going to work. This is Annie Leibovitz. I have been reading. This is what I've been reading this week. This is Annie Leibovitz. She's probably one of the world's most famous photographers today. She's been working for about 50 years. I think she's probably in her 70s now. And when she was young, she used to work for a magazine called Rolling Stone, which was a big music magazine in the 1970s and 80s. And that gave her access to lots of famous people, especially musicians. She went on tour with the Rolling Stones, and she really went on tour with them. She, she drank what they drank and did what they did, and she took amazing photographs. Annie Leibovitz, that's one of her photographs from the 70s of Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones. The reason that I like this book is what she does is she actually tells you about how she did the photographs. Not so much the technical side of things, because she's not particularly technical, but kind of like what inspired her or the mistakes that she made. I mean, for instance, this picture of the Blues Brothers, is she wanted to paint their faces blue. John Belushi, who's the short actor, really didn't want to do it. She managed to get 6 photographs and then he walked away and wouldn't proceed with it any further. So it's just quite interesting to see the stories and find out how the struggles she had. I mean, she admits this photograph here, Bette Midler, she said she's not a very technical photographer. She said it's not very well lit. They didn't get all the thorns off the noses and things like that. But what I like about it is the fact that, like I said earlier, even the great photographers don't think they've necessarily taken the best photographs, or they've always got things they could have improved on them. So she's got a masterclass, and there's a trailer to it. It's about 2 minutes long. I did put the link in WhatsApp so you can watch it later. Just scroll down to where it says play trailer and also play sample class, and you'll get a few minutes of it. But Chris is going to try and play it now on his computer.
There's this idea that in portraiture, it's the photographer's job to set the subject at ease. I don't believe that. Robert Penn was writing about dying and death, and I just asked him to take his shirt off, but it was more like I wanted to see his skeleton. He didn't have any guard or shield. One of my favorite photographs, Agnes Martin sitting in her painting studio, she said to me, I sit here and I wait to be inspired. I love that. And so I said, would you just sit there? Isn't that what we all do? We wait to be inspired. All the work that I've ever done, the ideas emanate from that person. Stand over here, present yourself. We're so complicated as human beings. There's so many parts to us. That's where the ideas come from. Even in the most set up situation, I believe there's something real going on. I'm so not a technical photographer. What camera are you using? If that's what you're thinking about, you're not taking pictures. Oh my God, it all so beautiful. When you first start off, stay with one lens and see what it does. You may want to open up, have more latitude, so when you go back, you can actually bring it back down into the dark. I'm constantly trying to emulate natural light. Where's the light coming from? She should fall into that tree. I should love that. Photograph the people close to you, your family, your friends. That's how I learn. When you photograph people, it's about history. It's about looking at our time and our culture and our society through portraits. You never stop seeing. You're seeing all the time. Don't be afraid to be obsessed. Go out in the world, find a way to tell a story that means something to you. I'm Annie Leibovitz, and this is my masterclass.
Thanks, Chris. Did everyone hear that? Okay. So maybe watch it again later and maybe do a bit of research into her. I mean, she is astonishing. I mean, she's taken some incredibly epic, iconic photographs. Possibly one of the most famous one is this one here, which is John Lennon and Yoko Ono. So John Lennon, as you may or may know, was a member of the Beatles, the biggest band in the world. this photograph was taken in 1980. A few hours after that photograph was taken, John Lennon was shot and was killed. It's a really epic and iconic photograph. It's worth reading about that. But did you notice how many pictures she had on the wall behind her? You know, do you see how many pictures that she's taken and she's looking at and she's thinking about? And that's the kind of thing. Look, like Dalginder's got a similar kind of thing just there. I love that, Daljinder. I love surrounding yourself with photographs and living with them and looking at them and letting them kind of drip into you. I know you guys are surrounded by photographs all the time, thousands of photographs on Instagram, and it's all, because it's digital, it's all so quick and easy to look at. But I want you to slow down this week and really look at photographs in detail. I might just randomly send a link on WhatsApp into pictures that I've looked at that I want you to have a think about. Did you notice also that she talked about family? So I know with the Heritage Project you might not choose to focus on your family, but I wanted to just talk for a few minutes about family photographs. I will share with you a few photographs of my family. Let me just see if I can do this. So you should be able to see a picture of my grandmother when she was about 16. Can you see that? Yeah? Yep. Okay. I'm just sharing a small handful of family photographs, and I just wanted to think, it sounds a stupid question, but who's got family photographs? Everybody? Yeah? Yeah. And what format are they in? Have you got prints? Are they all digital? Have your parents got wedding albums?
I've got prints of my family. Yeah, like my grandparents and my great grandparents, and like when they were younger as well.
So how far are they black and white or colour?
They're kind of like these ones, because I remember for one of my assignments for history, I wrote about family in photography, and I picked one about my grandparents, and I thought it was from India, but it was actually from Africa, and it looks just like this, but he's with his cousins and everything. So,
anybody else? What's the oldest photograph you've got? Daljinder, have you got some photographs of your family?
I actually have a few on my wall here of when we were kids, because there's like we had an old not digital camera, not think today, sorry. Film camera for a while. I was kind of up to the age of 14 before eventually conked out. And then we went and got a digital, and by that time everyone had phones. I think some of the oldest photographs I have are of my dad's side of the family in the house of his parents when they first moved to the UK, and there's a picture of like their living room, and a picture of my grandfather in his World War II military uniform in our dining room. That's been there since I was a child. It's quite a range.
Anybody else? Kai, have you got photographs of your grandparents?
I don't know. I can't say I've gone looking for any, so I might, but I haven't really asked. I mean, I've got digital photos of myself growing up, but not really. Haven't really gone further back.
So can everyone go snooping around this week? Can you go, again, I'm not asking you to do things you're not comfortable with, or you may not have a stereotypical family. You know, it may be a guardian who's looked after you, or a friend perhaps. But I'm interested in you starting this heritage project by looking at your family photographs, or your photographs of your past, whatever they may be. And I'd like you to go and talk to people, like get your family to show you their family photographs. Have a look at the wedding albums, find out who those people are. One of the reasons why is my mum and dad died. My mum died about 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm really kicking myself for not asking her more details about who all these people. I mean, I know this is my grandma. She died last year. She was 103 when she died. This is Louise. And then here, This is my grandfather. And this was a drawing done by a prisoner of war. When he was, I think he was stationed in Africa, and there was an Italian prisoner of war who was very good at drawing, and for a few pounds he would do your drawing, you see. And this is an amazing drawing, which is very precious to me. My granddad's in the middle here. He was one of 13 children. 3 of them didn't make it into adulthood, but this is his surviving siblings. He used to have to share a pair of shoes with his brother. They didn't have their own pairs of shoes. That's them on their wedding day. This is my great-grandfather, and this is with both his arms. He went to the First World War, and when he came back, he'd lost one of his arms. His horse was blown up, so we've got a similar photograph, but with only one arm. It's my grandma's side of the family. That's my mum with my uncle. And that's me with my dad when I was a little boy. One of my most precious photographs. Now these photographs are just little prints, but obviously with your phones, if you have a phone, you can focus really closely. You can quite quickly copy these photographs. I suggest you do. I suggest you go into your family albums and start copying the photographs and get them for yourself, because what happens is, when your parents die, the photographic archive gets split up and they go to your brothers and your sisters and they kind of get lost as well. So I suggest start copying these and backing these up for yourself. These are just quick photographs taken of prints. That's me and my brother and sister in a pilot competition. So I'm just showing you some of these old photographs and almost saying how lucky you are, because when me and Chris were young, my mum would buy a 24 exposure film at the start of the year, and that would last her the whole year. She would take 24 photographs in a year. That would be 1 or 2 photographs on your birthday, 3 or 4 photographs on holiday, and a few at Christmas. And then at the end of the year, she would process the film, and we would have 24 little prints. And often the quality was quite poor, like this one. But that's what we have. Obviously, the cameras you have these days are fantastic, and you can take such amazingly sharp photographs. I do encourage you to back up your photographs as well on the cloud, but also back them up onto our hard drive if you can, in case your phone gets stolen or damaged in any way. That's my brother. These are to do with heritage as well, because this is kind of our heritage. We all went through the Club Scouts, or we wore school uniforms. This was taken in Jamaica when we lived in Jamaica. So these are all kind of, I can track my family down through these photographs. My dad built his own house. This is us digging the foundations. Okay, I think that's probably enough. I think you get the idea. But yeah, so this week I'd like you to start collecting your family photographs and start thinking about the heritage. Have you guys been thinking about the heritage and what you'd like to maybe be doing your photography work on? Have you had any ideas about what you might want to do? Okay, well, it's early days, isn't it? I know we had that talk last week. We're going to be having some more talks tomorrow, so maybe we'll be able to develop some ideas then. Okay, I mean, I've got more stuff to talk about, but I suppose I've been going on quite a long time. How are we doing for time, Chris? Is this about time to wrap up?
Yeah, we're good. I think we've just about come to the end of the session, Stu. So if you want to finalise and end, that would be great. It's been really interesting. Thank you.
I'll just summarise then, Chris. Just summarise what I want you to do this week, and I'll put it onto the WhatsApp group, okay? I want you to take photographs. I want you to take lots of photographs, and I want you to think about when you're taking the photographs. So think about your viewpoint and what you're including in the frame and what you're trying to say, okay? I want you to start looking at photographs and collecting photographs and thinking to yourself, why do I like this photograph, or why do I dislike it? How does it make me feel? And I want you to start raiding the family archive and going through the family photographs and the albums and the books, and start building a portrait of your background and your history for yourselves. Thank you very much for listening. I've enjoyed this, and as I say, I will put a lot of this information onto WhatsApp. I look forward to seeing you at the next session.
Brilliant, thanks, Stu. So just quickly before we finish, thanks for your attention today. Hope you enjoyed that. Got a session tomorrow on using online websites to research family history. So there'll be somebody who's an expert on using websites such as ancestry.co.uk, and he's prepared to make himself available throughout the project to provide support if you want to go that route and find out a little bit about your family trees. Then that'll be the end of THOOL this side of Easter. We're not planning to do anything next week because everybody will be enjoying their Easter eggs and various other things that they might want to do over the weekend. And then we'll pick it up again on the 12th. And I'll be sending a note round after tomorrow, just giving a few pointers about what we'll be talking about week commencing the 12th. So hope you've enjoyed it today. Thanks very much. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't completed the 2 online surveys that I sent round about your skills and experience, and also whether or not you're prepared to allow us to showcase your work online or in the exhibition, if you could complete that, that would be really, really helpful. That will give us a guide about how we can use any of your work over the next weeks and months. So that's it. In the meantime, have a good rest of the evening, have a good day tomorrow, and we'll see you at 5 o'clock tomorrow night, and I'll send a link for tomorrow night's session later on this evening. So thanks, guys. Enjoy.
Thanks very much, everyone.